Hey, what's happening, guys? Dan Darrow here from the Alpha Team. So this is what I am calling the main event of the quarter. Not only is it just an absolutely gigantic week of earnings, but you also have the FOMC meeting on Wednesday and the jobs report on Friday. And by the close on Friday afternoon, we are just going to have seen just an epic amount of news drop on the tape. Where we end up remains to be seen, but one way or the other, I feel like it's going to be an interesting 5 day stretch here. All right, so after the close today, Monday, there's a couple names, nothing too big. NXPI, it's a good sized chip stock, but I mean my rule this quarter, and it was the previous 2 quarters, was to avoid semis into earnings, playing earnings, and it has not steered me wrong yet. So I don't have any plan on playing NXPI. It's priced in about 10.5 points, but it's also typically not a large mover, so I don't think I'm going to be doing anything with that. Also, Whirlpool's after the close today, pricing in about 8.5 points. Um, it's not really a focus for me, but every once in a while, Whirlpool has a large swing on earnings. Chart's kind of tight, and keeps bumping up into this 157, 158 area. Um, it's just, with so many other big names this week, it's just, I don't know. I don't know if it's anything I'd really want to be involved with, but every once in a while, it can have like a nice move. All right, before the open on Tuesday, um, it's like kind of like a big blue chip morning. So Caterpillar, about 12.5 points is what's priced in. I mean, the stock has just been so impressive since last quarter. I mean, and just over the last week and a half, stock has been really just so strong, grinding straight up into earnings. URI last week had a strong print, continued to go, and Cat's been trading more in tandem with that lately. Um, I mean, I guess what I've noticed so far this quarter is that industrials are either popping on earnings or getting bought on dips, minus maybe like an exception here or there. So I might focus more on this on the day after to see if it gives like a bull trade opportunity. Exxon Mobil about 425 is what's priced in. Chevron was a little bit disappointing on Friday after that big buyback. Um, I don't think I'm gonna have any options on Exxon, but huge energy name can impact the whole sector, so I guess it's worth keeping an eye on. GM, so it's pricing in about 2.5. So GM and Ford both report next week, and my plan with them has been the same, I guess, the last couple quarters. They're more long-term focused ideas for me, less short-term. Because I just really feel like they have more potential if they can turn the corner out of like these downtrends. See, you can see like the downtrend that's going on right now. So I think I'd personally rather wait and put on some longer-term options if the numbers are good and it can start to clear some big levels. So I don't think I'm going to have any short-term options on these this week, GM or Ford. Mickey D's, so about $9 is what they're looking for. Um, it's just one of those names where I feel like I never really have much success trading it. It does look kind of interesting though. I mean, I'll give it that sideways base, which comes right above like the previous high. So it does look kind of interesting, but I feel like I'd rather just put an alert at 280 or put an alert at like 262, 261. So if it trades through either side of this recent consolidation, maybe I'll jump in, but I don't think I'm gonna have options into earnings. Pfizer, so it's priced in about $2, I guess. Big week pharma, and Pfizer will be the first. So this whole group, for the most part, has been acting weaker since the start of the year, and I'm not sure earnings are going to help fix that immediately. I mean, J&J had a decent report, and that kept sliding. So I guess what I'll be watching is to see if earnings are okay, can it start a more sustained bounce, right, or at least just stop the selling pressure. Because right now, I mean, it's below all moving averages, just in such like a really aggressive downtrend, and I mean, if the numbers aren't good, there's no reason why it can't get down to October low because it seems like that's the next area underneath. Also, tomorrow morning, Tuesday, UPS. So about $11 was priced in. It's kind of an interesting setup because tight pattern has a history of some larger swings on earnings. The last quarter was a bit more muted. It does seem like a setup for a volatility strategy, but If I did something, I'd probably want to get risk down a bit. Or alternatively, FedEx doesn't report this week, so that should be a sympathy play. Okay, after the close on Tuesday, AMD, so about 625 is what's priced in. People didn't like what they heard out of Intel initially, but then AMD managed to like shrug that off after opening red. So we'll see how AMD fared this quarter. It's definitely been more of like a battleground name recently with like upgrades and downgrades pushing it around so far this year. So it seems like there's a lot of mixed opinions on it. Maybe that means more volatility. I don't know. It's a semi. I'm sticking to my rule, so I probably am not going to be in this for earnings. But I might look at Nvidia. It's a potential sympathy play if the option pricing comes down a little bit the remainder of today and tomorrow. EA, so $6.50 was priced in. First of the gaming stocks. Other than maybe playing ATVI every once in a while on those merger headlines, I really haven't had much interest in this group. Action's been a little bit more muted, lousy. Earnings have not been huge events. So I think I'm going to leave it alone. Snap. So interesting one. About 225s was priced in. Tight setup. Huge, history of huge volatility on earnings recently. So it definitely interests me. Recent quarters have all been on the downside. So here, and here. Maybe one of these quarters it has unfilled gaps above clearly. Also, it's quite a bit of ways off its December low, which was down around 8. So seems like it has room both ways, and options maybe leave some room pricing wise. For the open on Wednesday, it's only one name, but Wednesday is also the FOMC day, so Wednesday is going to be probably a wild session. So before the open, really it's just Peloton. It's priced in 225. I think it's kind of interesting technical setup. I mean, it's right at the top of this like monthly resistance. It's above the 200-day. I mean, I guess I just don't know how much to expect out of the stock after a mixed few months of trading, but maybe I'll play like a spec strangle on it. Just trying to get risk down, maybe go a little bit further out of the money, just see if it either pops through the range high and starts to make a move to 15, or if it fails. Obviously the bottom of the range is down around 8, so it seems like there's plenty of room to the downside. So seems like there's some room on that one. After the close of Wednesday, Meta, so 14.5 points is what's expected. I'd say of the mega caps reporting this week, Meta seems to have the highest bar because the stock has been nonstop since the beginning of the year, just literally just straight up. Last quarter was miserable. It really was, but the company quickly pivoted, cut costs. Street loved it. Stock has been rallying. I guess we're gonna have to wait and see where this is because it does have a history over the last few quarters of reacting pretty significantly to Snap numbers and Snap reports the day before. So we'll have to see where Meta is going into its own report, just to see where the bar is. Like has the bar been lowered a bit after Snap disappoints, or is the bar even higher after Snap beats, right? And Meta's up even further, right? So this setup could change a bit after Snap, so we'll have to see. But I guess if it's somewhere around here going into earnings, I'm not the biggest fan of it. It just seems like a toss up. Seems like a very high bar. Doesn't mean it can't keep going. I mean, we saw with Tesla, we saw with Netflix, some stocks that were up a bunch in earnings kept going, but Meta is also to me, it's also like one of those names where it's had a huge move year to date, and I don't know what's priced in at this point. Invisalign also Wednesday after the close, so pricing in about 30. So this is like a boom or bust earnings play. I mean, there's been some quarters where it's done next to nothing, but there's also been some quarters where it's had just absolutely gigantic moves of like 20, 30%. So definitely more speculative. And I mean, it's still a bit off that gap, but there's a huge unfilled gap above. I mean, last quarter created a gap all the way down the 170s, which hasn't been filled. So there's gaps. Has a history of some big moves. So probably be something I look at for like speculative out of the money strangles, just in case they do like repeat one of those like 20 to 30% type moves, which has happened on occasion in the past. Before the open on Thursday, a few pharma names, BMY, Lilly, Merck. Um, just I guess I'm just going to see where they're trading after Wednesday because Fed meeting's going to move around a lot of stocks, and maybe these setups will be different. But this is still a group I feel like is more post earnings because action has been a little bit weaker, a little bit more lousy on them lately. After the close on Thursday, so this is really like the big night. Apple it's priced in $7. It's well off the recent low. It's actually it's actually pretty similar spot to where it was going into the October earnings. So closed that day at 144.80, and as of this video, it's at 144.25. So it's pretty much right where it was going into October earnings. Um, I feel like it's been resilient number wise, action wise. Kind of a hard stock to bet against. There's been a ton of stories about weak iPhone demand, so that kind of makes it hard to know where the bar is going to the report. Technically, to me, it doesn't seem very compelling. Like the setup just doesn't seem that compelling one way or the other. And it's actually been a while since it's had a huge move on earnings, so I might just sit this out, wait till after the report, maybe look for like a quick day trade on it. Amazon, so $8.50 was priced in here. Definitely a wild card. Last quarter was not good, and now we get the holiday season report, right? Plus, Microsoft just said Azure growth was slowing a bit too. So you have gaps above, you got some unfilled gaps underneath. It seems like a setup where volatility strategy could be the way to go. Just it's consistently had big moves, and I mean it's the big quarter, it's the holiday quarter, so it just seems like a setup for a volatility strategy. Google, so another big name, pricing in six or so. So we'll have to see where this one's trading because Snap probably won't move it a ton, but Meta could move Google a good amount, especially if it's like a surprisingly good or surprisingly bad. So we'll have to see where the stock is trading first to determine if there's still a setup there or not. But I mean, last quarter wasn't good, and Meta's comments around the state of advertising be pretty big for Google. Ford priced in 90 cents, so see what GM has to say, but still, more longer term ideas for me, probably not earnings focused. Qualcomm, so $8.50 was priced in. I mean, it's another big semi. There's a few big semis this coming week, but it's still kind of I'm in the camp where I'm just avoiding chip reports until I see them consistently move more than what's priced in. There was some chatter a few months ago about Apple struggling with their in-house chip design and how that could benefit Qualcomm, but nothing concrete was ever announced. Plus, it's interesting that it's reporting the same day as Apple, but I don't think I'm going to be in Qualcomm. And then also Thursday, Starbucks, so $6 is what's expected. I just haven't really been actively trading restaurant stocks in a while, and I have mixed feelings on Starbucks. Stock has been strong. Kind of appears to have some room either way, but the option pricing seems a bit high, and I don't know. Again, I mean, it's just the restaurants have just not been a recent focus, so I guess I don't like the setup that much to want to jump off the sidelines into it. And then lastly, on Friday morning, Cigna. It's priced in at $15.50. There's been a couple of managed care reports already, so there shouldn't be a ton of surprise with Cigna, but the stock has been lagging, and it's actually at a really interesting spot. Technically, you can see it's been kind of chopping and consolidating right above the 100-day, which has been a really important level, or was an important level all of last year. So they need to deliver because, I mean, if the stock starts to break down, there could be a decent amount of room lower. So it's pretty big spot technically, and with some weakness in the managed care, they're really going to have to turn in a good report. Otherwise, this could be set up for like a near-term breakdown. So something to watch on Friday. But also Friday we got the jobs report before the open, so feels like one way or the other, Friday should be a busy day. All right, so lots of big names, lots of big price and moves. Let's hope for lots of volatility and some good trading. Okay. So if you like this video, come check out the Alpha team. That's where I'm hanging out. Go over a lot of these setups the day of, the day after. Talk about updated pricing and what to look for. So if if you want to know more about trading earnings with options, come check out the Alpha team. All right. So have a great night, and I will talk to you all later this week.